The Scene Projects would like to extend this message of hope to our brothers and sisters in Tennessee and North Carolina. We are sending help. We are here for you. Our thoughts and prayers are with you always. The Scene Projects are brought to you by these fine sponsors. List with Linda B. Cufflinks.com. J.H. & Sons Menswear. Kathmandu Campground and RV Park in Sturgis, South Dakota. The Den. Sioux Falls' newest live music venue at 909 Northwest Avenue in Sioux Falls. Sunny Radio and SiouxFallsPodcast.com. Welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, and joining me today is Alek Glauvitz.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bubba.
Hey, I'm glad we finally got this done. We've been friends for going on 8-9 months now, I would say. It feels like a lot longer.
I know, dude.
Just kind of saying it, but we've been in such a time warp these last few months, the both of us have. But before we get too deep down the old rabbit hole, why don't you give us a little bit about you and your company, CoffeeBreak Entertainment?
You got it, man. Yeah, dude. So my full name is Zander Glauvitz. In the industry around here in the Twin Cities, my friends call me Zander. So that's become my stage name. I've been playing guitar since I was 13 years old. It became a first love for me, so I just dove into it fully. And yeah, man, it's been a wild ride ever since. You know, music and friendship kind of go hand in hand, along with beer and other things too. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I just started in high school. I was playing with this punk, like kind of pop punk group that I formed with some buddies in high school, and I was handling all of the management and the booking for that band, and I kind of learned a lot about the industry back then. I was also working at a little ma and pa shop where I started taking guitar lessons when I was young. And so through there, I met a bunch of the instructors who were gigging in the scene. I then went and got a bachelor's in music business from McNally Smith College of Music, which is now gone, but it was a wonderful spot where it was kind of like the rival to Berkeley. My guitar instructor actually went to both Berkeley and McNally. And when it was time for me to go to college, I asked him which he preferred. And he said, look, you'll get a great education at both of them, but I would say McNally over Berkeley just because the instructors are on a first name basis. And dude, even today, man, I was playing at the Minnesota State Fair over the weekend, and I ran into one of my old instructors. And it wasn't like, oh, Mr. Johnson, what's up? You know, it was like, what's up, Mark? How you doing? Like, long time no see. You know, you still playing with that jazz band downtown, and you know, that sort of thing. So I'm really glad I went there. I made a lot of connections, both with like some of the larger venues in the Twin Cities, such as First Avenue and The Current, which is a local radio station, which is also an off branch of NPR. So yeah, I met a lot of people there and got really connected. And, you know, as my college mates have moved on around the world, I now have a bunch of connections in like Nashville and LA and New York and random little states across the country and also different places around the world. You know, I've got some friends in Oslo, Norway. I've got some friends in Sweden, some friends in London. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Just through music, I've been very blessed to meet a lot of people from around the world that I can actually genuinely call friends. And it's been pretty great, man. So then, yeah, I started playing with this group called the Lone Oaks, Russ Parrish and Topher. Russ is the front man. Topher's the drummer. Yeah, dude, we all met at a church down in Burnsville, and Russ was like, dude, I like your tone and I like your playing. He asked if I would play lead guitar for him. And, that was my main group for the last about 7 years. And then the front man and the drummer moved down to Nashville, last August. So now we're a Nashville based band. The bassist and I live here in Minnesota. Front man and drummer live down in Nashville. And then let's see what else. Oh, I had a company called All in the Couch, where I was doing artist management and booking before COVID. And I got to work with a lot of great names at the time. And then when the world shut down, I kind of hit reset. And after a little while, I decided I still wanted to do it. So I started a company called CoffeeBreak Entertainment, officially launched the LLC back in September of 23. And yeah, man, just been rocking that ever since. I'm now a full-time music man. I pay the bills by playing, bar shows and stuff for like 3 or 4 hours, just doing solo or duo sort of things. And that's paying the bills. And then everything I'm making with Coffee Break Entertainment, I'm putting right back into the company and trying to grow that beast. It's been a wild ride, man.
Yeah, and I've been following along at least for the last, since the first of the year, really, following along with Coffee Break and what's been happening there. And but it all kind of seems like everything started from your education, and not necessarily from the education itself, but from the connections that you made while you're there, and how those connections have gone off, and all of these people have become involved in their respective scenes around the world, right? And now you're connected in all of these other places, and I consider our relationship much of the same. What's cool about relationships and networking is that now, because we're working together, we both kind of have access to one another's networks, and we're actually tied together much closer the more and more that I dig into, the area here in Sioux Falls and, the southern part of Minnesota. It's pretty small out here. And so we overlap a lot in our friends. And one of those is Clayton Ryan. And Clayton is all over my Facebook feed right now on CD Baby ads. And like you said, it's a wild ride where I think I almost probably feel more famous than he would. It might get a little embarrassing for him over time, but I'm like, hey, y'all, that's my buddy. That's my friend. And check this out, and out there repping some big boys. So let's, before we get to how that happened, why don't you kind of, I know Clayton is very closely tied to the inception of Coffee Break and really the last 8-9 months of your life. That probably feels like a decade. So why don't we kind of pick it up from January 2024? You guys kind of, you kind of form Coffee Break and take on Clayton as a client, and then what's been happening?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I want to preface that real quick with what you said a moment ago, just how reconnecting with all these people that I've met in the world and all that, and kind of utilizing each other's networks, not industries, but that's the beautiful thing too, man. Through life, really, I've learned, just don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole, man. Cause it's not going to get you very far. And sometimes you need to put on that mafia face and just take care of business and don't let anybody push you around. But honestly, man, every connection and every little experience I've had in my musical life has been just from being a genuine person and matching with people who are genuine and excited too, just to get things done. And it's been great. I would much rather share my connections with somebody who I can get along with and can feel like I can actually vouch for without having to worry about what's going to happen later. I only work with people that I trust and people that I really enjoy. But at the same time, I give people, 2 chances, because life happens and sometimes we all have bad days. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. I just thought of that as you mentioned. But yeah, dude, so I launched Coffee Break last September, and I was like, okay, COVID happened, and I kind of fell outside of the Twin Cities scene. I wasn't really doing anything other than just kind of being creative and having a couple gigs here and there. So I was like, man, I gotta get reconnected with the scene here. So what I did was, when I launched Coffee Break Entertainment, I offered booking services and events. So it'd be like, if a band wanted some help with some bookings, which I find a lot of people want help because they hate booking. And I personally love watching a calendar kind of go from nothing to all of a sudden a big route and all that jazz and become a full schedule. So I was like, hey, anybody who wants help with some booking here and there, hit me up. A friend of mine who owns a cafe was like, hey, I'm looking for something to do on Thursdays. We kind of want to do a music series. Would you be interested in putting that together? I said, yes, absolutely. So I would find every Thursday for 4 months, I found 2 different acts that would play on a weekly basis. So I'd have essentially, let's see here, about 8 different acts a month playing every Thursday at this spot. And then that led to another friend of mine who had a brewery. He was the events coordinator at a local brewery. And he was like, hey, man, we're looking to do a live music event on Fridays with original music only. Can you set that up? I said, sure. So basically I did that for 3 different places, and that just that made it so I could meet everybody in the scene so quickly, and that was incredible. So that blew up really quick, and then I put together a Christmas show in late December. Like, it was literally the day after Christmas, and I had heard about this Clayton Ryan guy had just moved to town, and I pay attention to the scene, so I knew of him and I knew his music, but I didn't know him. And a friend of mine, Adam Bohannon, was like, dude, you got to check out this Clayton guy. And I was like, yeah, I've been seeing his name around. He's like, seriously, dude, he's really talented. If you're looking for one more act for the show, hit him up. I'm like, okay. So I hit up Clayton on a DM on Instagram, and I was like, hey, man, you want to play this little show I'm doing, over at this place in St. Paul? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. So we booked it. I met him for the first time at the venue, and I was like, man, this guy's really talented. This is really great. And I knew I wanted to do something with him, probably book some more shows. But it just became a natural friendship, dude. We started talking, we got each other's numbers, and we were texting back and forth, just like stupid memes and stuff. And eventually just kept running into each other at different, open mics and stuff in the scene. And after about a month or so, he was like, you ever managed anybody? And I was like, yeah, I used to, back in the day, but I'm not right now. It's a lot of work. And he was like, well, one of my goals for this year, on top of like playing 7th Street Entry and the Turf Club and maybe First Avenue, I really want to put together a team of people who like believe in me and my music. And I was like, well, you're a pretty nice dude. I'm really liking what I'm hearing. Let's talk. And so we just started talking business. And honestly, it was just kind of a whirlwind, man. He asked if I would officially be his manager, and I said, yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, man, out of all the bands that I've managed in my time, Clayton Ryan is like one of the most hungry and go-getting artists I've ever met, dude. Most of the bands that I've worked with in the past, they've been kind of like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We want to do this month. And we talk like maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the month and kind of just be doing our own thing. And then I check in every once in a while and just make sure all is well on their end. And if anything popped up, I send it their way. But with Clayton, it is literally every day we're checking in like, hey, did you get this done? Hey, did I get this done? What else is next? He sets up assignments for me. I set up assignments for him. And dude, since January, we have played all of the venues that he wanted to play in Minnesota. We've worked with most of the artists on our list that we want to work with. So now we just got together on Monday, a couple days ago, and we sat down and we're like, okay, we now need to come up with a legitimate 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goal. And with that, what songs are we releasing? Because he just released his album Ghost Town, and we're pushing that pretty hard. But at the same time, we're like, okay, what video things do we have out here that we can release over time to kind of keep the traction? What shows do we have that are coming up that are paychecks versus, career building shows? And yeah, man, I mean, we went from, hey, what's up? You sound pretty good, to all of a sudden, how are we taking over the world, man?
And when you got a team, man, it's so much easier to accomplish it. And that's what the scene and the scene projects now, we've kind of going through a rebranding, mostly just because of, website availability and email addresses and things like that, just to get a street. I mean, it was a marketing thing, but it really gave us a much bigger breadth of what we can do, right? It's not just a podcast that we're building, it's a community, and it's a community of content creators, really. So that's where you start to dig in. Content generation for this podcast and this community is never an issue. We have plenty of it to dig into, and that's why we have the Scene Projects Facebook group, is to kind of drive that, right? I mean, I had now, I'm on LinkedIn and things like that to reach out to the business communities, right? If you want to be a legitimate business, you have to start operating in the fields that these people are. You need to bring yourself out of the bars. If you want to get out of the bars, take yourself out of them. Right. And I'm not saying that you need to, shun these gigs. They're good gigs, right? Those are the ones that are paying the bills right now. Especially for myself. That's what I do, with my band. And you're speaking a lot of truth to what, I'm doing in my life is no different, right? We're on the road. Same thing, crossing off that list. If you set your mind to it, there's no stopping us, right? We're going to play all these places. They need entertainment. And right now, I mean, our generation is the generation stepping into that, right? There's a lot of bands that aren't touring anymore. You know, COVID didn't just steal businesses, it stole a lot of bands.
Yes, unfortunately.
So there's a massive vacuum right now, and I don't think most people and it's just harder to operate now than it's ever been. It's more expensive to try and operate a band and to do all these things. So you have to be hungry. You have to be at Clayton Ryan. If you want to make it, you better be that guy that's waking up and doing this stuff every day. And that's not to say that you can't work other jobs, but if you're not eating and sleeping your business, because it is your business, not just your art, then there's going to be people that pass you by. There's just too many of us, right? So the people that are really working are the ones that are rising to the top. And I think what's important for me is that we're trying to raise everyone's vibration, right? The scene is the tide of, that raises all the ships, right? Things like this, things, like the festivals that are getting put together. We have a lot of mutual friends in the Midwest Country Music Organization. There's several other Rocky Mountain Music Organization. And just there's all these different groups that are out there to support musicians and independent artists and independent business people.
Absolutely.
we're looking to keep driving that, and that's why we're such big fans of you. We're such big fans of Clayton, and just so proud of you guys. So incredibly honored to be a part of your circle, because you are the hardest working guys out there. You are, and gals. You're attached to a big group of people that when I built the Instagram pages and everything from anew, I mean, you were really the start of the circle I started forming, right? I just went in and followed all the people you were working with, because it was right around the same time that you were doing all of the songwriter nights. So you were posting a different couple of songwriters every single week. I'm getting to know them. So I'm following all these people. Well, it's allowed me to build this huge network that's completely outside of South Dakota. That's not possible at all without, number one, the internet, and number two, the gumption and the know-how to get into these different groups and to kind of to find your way through the internet. I think a lot of people get trapped in social media. A lot of artists start to hate it. And it's like, well, if you just use it for networking and broadcasting your stuff, it's the greatest tool ever created. And you're seeing people cultivate careers out of it all the time. And, one question I have, and you might not be able to answer it at all, but with, Clayton doing the CD Baby ads and stuff, I noticed that his song is playing in the background. Well, I'm also seeing 150,000 plays on the ad. Now, is he seeing anything in the form of streaming? Because I see something in just the podcast being released, like, I share rights with myself because it's my music on the intros and outros. I share music rights with myself on the things that I post on Facebook, right? So I guess I didn't know, can you artificially inflate plays? And is there, you know what I mean? Like, if you're paying for advertising, do those plays count, or is it just this massive exposure opportunity? Hey, you're probably going to have 1 million views on this song, although not 1 million hits. A lot of people are hearing your song in the background of this ad.
Right. Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Admittedly, I'm not 100% sure how the royalties work is exactly with like.
And even at 1 million, Instagram, it's probably like $12.
Dude, yeah, if not 12 cents.
Right. Well, I mean, I get like $11 from Facebook or something. So, I mean, it counts for something.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm touching like 100,000 people or something, right? Like, our reach is about that. I'm sure your guys is much higher if you follow statistics, and I'm not like hardcore into it, but I glance past it occasionally and make sure that I'm at least conscious of those things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something too. Clayton is checking those pretty frequently just to kind of see he's less worried about like how much he's making on it and more where are the analytics of the worldwide listeners, like where are people listening? And that's kind of how we're basing some of our tours too.
Yes.
Like this was kind of funny. We went out west to do a little tour and we played in Bozeman, Montana. And at the venue, these 2 Swedish guys came up and were like, this is our last day in America. Like, we're excited to hear some live American music. And we're like, no way, dude. Like, the number 3 most listened to country is Sweden. Like, this is kind of funny that you're here. And Clayton was like, dude, the song that like is most popular in Sweden, according to Spotify, is the song called Evergreen. And they're like, oh, interesting. So we played it. And then after the show, we walked up and, thanked them for being there. But we asked, I was like, yeah, so why do you think this is so popular? They're like, oh, this makes sense. Like, in Sweden, we love trees. Like,
yeah.
I'm terrible with accents, but dude, yeah, they were just like, we love evergreen trees, so that's probably why, just the title. But it's a beautiful song. We're like, oh, well, thanks, man.
Well, and think of the language gap at some of these, but something that you would know very well, right, would be the evergreen trees that are all around you, right? Some of the first words that you would want to learn in another language would be the things that you're going to use or the things that surround you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love, so we actually get a ton of plays in, I can't remember if it was Finland or where it was out there, but I use a blog service in the UK who have a following, right? So when they post it up on their blogs and they're posting our songs in their playlists and things, we're getting feedback from that, right? Not only do I use their I'm mainly using it just to get somebody to write us a press about me. It's a $5. I pay them $40 or whatever. Hey, take a look at, watch this. I sent him a 45-minute live performance, right? And she did a whole nice big paragraph and gave me content to use on all of my stuff, right? For $40,
awesome.
coverage that I can't get someone to do for me locally, right? I would beg and beg and beg and beg and beg.
Right.
I just like, hey, I would more than willing just pay for that, right? Like, I don't care. Nobody that is reading it on the backside cares that I paid you for it, right? Like, they don't know, right? Well, and you realize that that's the way the industry has always operated. That's how these giant, payola and all of these schemes and radio and the pay for play, like, those have all been around. That's the way business is done. Okay, cool. If that's the way business is done, then we're just going to start operating that way. And instead of waiting for you to put us on your network, we're just going to go make our own network, right?
Yep.
We're just going to hit record on our own stuff because we're the ones out here doing shit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we as the artists are trying to get out here and do our own thing, man. And that's kind of, as Clayton and I have been talking with a bunch of different labels and stuff, we're both like on the same page of like, let's stay independent as long as we can, because we're out here on the grind. We're out here doing the thing, shaking hands and meeting people and like we're just building these genuine relationships and stuff with these people from all around the country.
You're going to build a much more rewarding career. And for you,
yes.
Because this is all just training for you. Like, what a great introduction for you as like, wanting to have this management side to what you're doing and flourishing and learning all of these things, right? That you're going to be able to educate other people on. Right? Like you now have a career and connections to Nashville and all of these things that you're going to cultivate over the next 3 to 5 years, right? Are going to build the next 30 to 50 years of your life. Like that's how I'm looking at it. When I went to the MCMO awards show in Okoboji, I saw the next 20 of my life where I'm like, cool, yeah, I can do this for a couple decades, right? And just run this and help these young people that I'm seeing and all of these artists by doing this podcast, by just having conversations and getting to know people and letting other people get to know all of us in the process.
Absolutely. And learning how to be flexible with it too. Cause like, that's the main reason I launched CoffeeBreak Entertainment, was because I wanted to focus on, the Twin Cities music scene. Like I'm born and raised here. I love the scene here. When I first went to college, when I first went to McNally, I was like, all right, I got to move to LA. I got to go to Nashville. I got to go to New York. And then I started realizing, cause all my instructors were gigging on the daily in the Twin Cities, and they were playing with some heavy hitters, and I realized how connected they were and whatnot. I was like, man, you can actually build a life in music just right here in the Twin Cities. And so I wanted to kind of shed a light on that. And that's why I was doing so many local showcases and stuff, because I was like, yes, there are a lot of bands that, are small that I believe deserve the limelight and deserve to grow, but maybe they just don't have the right tools or the right connections. And so maybe I can utilize my connections and the people that I know to kind of help grow these bands and stuff. And so that was the original idea. And then as Clayton came into my life and kind of, he's been such a whirlwind, because he is so hungry and willing to work and get down to the, grindstone and just do this stuff. I'm like, damn, this is really taking up a lot of my time. And so now I'm kind of like, I'm in this evolution portion of CoffeeBreak right now, where it's like, okay, we've been around for a year as of September, and I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of people. What is that next step? Like, I've learned that I cannot maintain what I've been doing with this new side of things with like managing Clayton, because it is a full-time job just managing him and his career and figuring out the next move and making all these phone calls and emails and just everything with Clayton alone is taking up so much time. I'm like, okay, I think I got to shift my focus to doing so much with Clayton, since this is like kind of the wave that's like cruising right now.
And you got to ride it. I'm literally sitting here waiting to tell you, like, you just got to ride that wave, right? And that's totally fine. And right. And we've talked about, you know, doing some other things, and you've almost apologetically been like, oh man, sorry, I can't get to you. And it's like, brother, I'm following you. I know you're busy. Like, you don't ever have to apologize to me for being too busy. Especially when you are riding the wave, and you are like, if I didn't see you doing anything and you're trying to feed me some nonsense, oh, well, I'm just too busy to get to you, I wouldn't buy it, you know? Well, it's just being honest. And I have friends, you know, I had a friend who posted yesterday, like, man, I'm giving up. And I was like, I'm not letting you do that. Like, it was just a simple statement, a comment on a page, but it's just like, bro, if you're serious about quitting, I'm not going to let you do that. Like, no one gets to stop chasing their passion at this point. If you're thinking about quitting, come to us. Let's figure it out. He builds custom guitars and is a wonderful artist, right? But it doesn't pay the bills, and he lives in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't have a store. You can't be traveling around everywhere to sell them when you have, you know, commitments at home. And so it's like, well, we have all these venues, and I bet people that came into those places would buy guitars, although they're not coming there for that reason. If they knew they were there, maybe they would. Maybe we start turning these empty spaces in some of these venues into retail spaces for our people, right? And not just like how Walmart would look, but more how artist venues and collectives kind of look, right? Where everything that's on the wall is for sale all the time. And you have all of this functional art, which it is to us, right? But a lot of his pieces while all of them are functional, most people that buy them probably are not buying them to play them. You know, the one-stringed things, and just, he makes some awesome stuff, Alec. You would love it. Oh, I'm sure Clayton would do a whole album. If he got his hands on some of these instruments, he would do a whole album off of it, just because they're so creative and brand new.
That's so cool.
Man, it's crazy when you talk how much you're just inside of my head, right? Where our hearts and my heart, right? Our heart is in helping artists. Right? That's what we're all about. Mm-hmm. And I think when you talk about honing in on just working with Clayton, what you're actually doing is being more helpful to all of us down the road by going and making all these connections. Now, ride this wave, man. This big guy is motivated and out there doing it. You guys are getting the opportunities, right? Just keep going. Any help that we can all support you with, right, is what we're trying to do. And we'll talk off camera and stuff about filling in some gigs, because that's the support that the scene projects can offer. You know, we're already reaching out to more and more artists to come through the Midwest to get from Minneapolis, and using, you know, a fair amount of your connections and people, you know, because even though we may not be working with you, we're able to work through you, right? My introduction to Lynn Lake Brewery this year now, and going, hey guys, you know, Alec's just too busy, but he said it's all good if we work together, right? Or being able to go and form those relationships, right? You open some huge doors for what we want to do in the area, what I would love to do with my band, and it's the least that we can do to reciprocate that as much as possible. And I know that we got some fun stuff coming up together here in the near future.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah, it's great, dude. And like I said, like, I'm always down to share the good word of people who are hungry for this and willing to be kind and genuine. You know what I mean? Like, it goes a long way. And I've worked with a lot of different artists in the past, and what I've learned is, like, everybody has their own direction and their own thing that they're trying to do. And, you know, I met this lady named Erin Viancourt. She's based out of Nashville, but my band, the Lone Oaks, every September we have this gig in Chicago for about a week. And when we were there last year, we met up with Erin just kind of naturally at what was it called? Like Carol's, I think it was Carol's Honky Tonk Pub or something like that in Chicago. And we just went there because we hit up Chicago Music Exchange, and we're like, where do we go for like some good country or honky tonk music in town? And they were like, you guys got to check out Carol's. So So we go down to Carol's and we're hanging out, and Erin Vinecourt just blew the place away. She was amazing. And she got off stage, and we just started chatting with her at the merch booth. That turned into just hanging out for the next like 2 hours, just drinking and chilling. And we were like, you know, what has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? At the time, it was right before the frontman and the drummer of my band moved to Nashville. So they were asking her, like, what do we do in Nashville? Where should we go to make connections? You know, what's the happening spot? Like, what's up? You know, and one of the key things that she said that really stuck out to me was, dude, there is no guidebook or how-to book in this industry. The thing is, what might work for one person might kill another. You just never know, and you need to like explore and experiment and find out what works for you. And man, I took that to heart, dude, because I found it to be so true. What might work for me, my solo career, is probably not going to work for your band's career, you know, or, you know, even in the same genres or different genres. Like sometimes what works for one artist might work for a different artist in a different genre. It's all about exploring and seeing what works best for you, man. And it's sometimes that might seem like a no-brainer, but I feel like a lot of times, especially when I was in Nashville, dude, just in the last week, I heard a lot of people be like, dude, how did you get this? And what do I need to do in order to get to that level too? And it's just like, you hear people try to answer that question and they stumble. Cause it's like, dude, my bluesy, folky, bluegrassy kind of solo stuff might not, what I'm doing with that might not work for your type of music or your personality. Like my whole thing when I hit the stage, dude, not my persona, but my I guess my business model for when I put on a show is I want to break down that fourth wall. I don't want to be that guy that's on stage playing to an audience that's out in the grass or in the room. I want to treat that as we are all just people in this room together at the same time, in the same moments, in this day and age. And how beautiful is that we can all just be together, happy, healthy, you know, leave our issues at the door and just be here together. And I really show that on stage. And dude, like, I know that I don't have a special voice. Like you hear Clayton Ryan, you're like, that's Clayton Ryan. You hear John Mayer, you're like, oh dude, that's John Mayer. You know, I don't have one of those voices that, you know, is easily recognizable. I have a lot of people tell me that I have a unique voice, but I've got that Midwestern kind of like nasally, you know, kind of mumbly sort of voice. And I know that. So there's nothing special there, but I still have people at every single show come up to me and they're like, dude, that was so much fun. You're more entertaining than like 90% of the bands that are seen. Like you actually made me want to drink and have a good time, even though it's just you solo on acoustic. There's a venue here in St. Paul that does the same thing. They have me play on Saturday nights, dude. Literally solo acoustic on a Saturday night. That's like primetime band slot. And I keep asking them, I'm like, guys, like, first of all, thank you for letting me play. This is the Midway Saloon here in St. Paul. I'm like, first of all, thanks for letting me play, but why do you keep asking me to come back? And they're like, because you actually get people dancing and you actually interact with the crowd. And on top of all that, you take care of our bartenders. Like, even if you make $20 in the tip jar, you're giving most of that to the bar. And we just appreciate that. So we'll hire you anytime you want to play, man. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. But if you get some snarky ass dude who like is not able to leave his ego at the door, dude, he could have a million spins on Spotify. But if you're playing live and people literally don't want to see you and they have a beer and they're like, all right, I'm out of here, man. Cause like, this guy just seems like a dick. And
that comes back to the top of the show, right? Don't be
don't be a dick, man.
Yeah.
It's a motto that's worked for me so far. And yeah, man. So all that to say, you really just need to get out there and experiment and see what works for you. And don't be afraid to take the time to don't be afraid to take the time to do that, you know, because everybody expects this overnight success, you know, like, oh, I'm going to do this for a year. And then in a year from now, I'm going to be playing like the biggest venues and I'm going to be super successful. It's like, dude, I just turned 30 this August and I've been playing gigs since I was 13 years old. And I thought I was going to be a rock star when I was 18 playing in my punk band. And I thought I was going to be a rock star when I was playing with my country cover band touring around the Midwest. Like, you just never know when it's going to happen, dude. And, like, I've had friends give up because they're like, dude, I've been doing this for 5 years and I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, that's fine, dude. But I'll tell you what, man, if you just keep pushing, you never know what'll happen.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the hard part for me is that I did quit, right? I decided I was going to take a different path, and this was years ago now, but I've been back on this train to the where everybody sees me quitting my job in March and like, oh man, you're really chasing. Well, I've been chasing it while I was still working. I've been investing in myself under the cover the whole time. I just finally kind of stepped down and was like, hey, it was time, right? Like, yeah, I didn't decide. The universe decided it was time for me to really invest myself into this and to have some faith, right? I mean, I didn't have a summer full of shows booked when I quit my job in mid-March, right? But I had faith that I was able to fill up that calendar, and I did. I mean, when I go back and count how many shows I played this year, it's going to be a big number, right? It's going to be a big number, and that's starting from like June. Where it was just I was playing 4 nights a week and I was playing sometimes twice a day and I just didn't care. I was going to be everywhere this year and have as many connections as I could this year. Is that sustainable every year? Hell no. Nope. Not like I did, right? Where I was pretty much paying. I mean, it's not like, and I appreciate the money that I did make going to Minneapolis, but that's why I just brought the whole family. It's like, if I'm going to lose money, I'd rather go lose big, take my kids on vacation, gain all of these memories and everything, and not worry about the financial side of it, right? I can't do that year after year after year after year. I probably won't be able to do it next year, but what I did was open up some doors up there, started a really cool relationship with you and just getting to know more and more people that, all in the same world. And, I was on another Minnesota guy, Charlie Roth. I don't know.
I think it's
Roth. Okay. Well, yeah. See, and down here in southeast South Dakota, it has the long O, right? So I wasn't sure, but yeah, spoke with Charlie yesterday about playing down in South Dakota and doing some more things, and realizing how many friends we already had in common, right? And he's like, "Well, I've been doing this up here for a long time." It's like, okay, then you're going to know a lot of the same people that I'm just getting to know, and it seems like everything's fresh right now because everything kind of died and kind of went away for a pretty long period, especially for you guys. I mean, you guys were locked down up there forever. We never went through anything like that. I did more gigs than ever. But you guys all coming back to life, there's a lot of people that just didn't make it back, right? Didn't make it back into the scene. And it kind of like left room for guys like you to grow and gals too. And new businesses popped up all over the place. I mean, I have these conversations with people around Minneapolis all the time, whereas just a totally different experience across the country for a lot of us. So
it's so true. It's kind of wild. Yeah. And it does kind of feel like a fresh, hi, Mabel. My dog just was like, let me in.
Yeah, that's all good, man.
Yeah, it is kind of like a fresh restart, of like, there were so many venues that shut down and so many bands that kind of dismembered and all that jazz. And, now we have that time to kind of come in fresh and, make new relationships with some of the venues that maybe were struggling back then and kept turning us away. And now they're like, oh yeah, actually we need more small local bands.
And you need good people that want to promote it. You need hungry people, because if you don't have artists, and especially as you continue to get busier, you need to work with artists that are going to get out and promote themselves. Like, you're like, at the end of the day, if you're not in town, it's kind of hard for you to be boots on the ground promoting. Yes, you can do all the Facebook stuff and make sure flyers are going here and there, but if people aren't there kind of driving their own shows and driving their own ship, then it all kind of dies anyway. And I guess what we're all about, and I think what you to a large degree are about, is not like, I don't want to do it for you, but I want to empower you by kind of bringing you into the network, right? Bringing you into our communities, and then our community is connected with this community, and this community is connected with that community, and we're all connected out here. And by just kind of being part of, it's just kind of a vetting process almost, right? Where you're just part of this group, and then you're part of this group, and there's no exclusivity in any of these places. There is no, you know what I mean? There's no gatekeepers, especially on this show, right? Well, I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. Bill Payne of Little Feat, we interviewed this summer, but out here talking to guys that are recording their first song in their 60s, right? You know what I mean? So guys that are the same age at totally different points of their musical careers, and I think they would both sit down at a table with each other and have the same type of conversations, right? And just to talk about Bill was awesome. He was incredible and really gave giving me kind of a personal validation of like, hey, welcome to the club, man. You're out here doing it. Good for you. I was like, yes, that means something to me, but other people listen to this show, and that's going to mean a lot more to them, and it means more to me what it means to them for that validation. Like if you are out here and you are working and you are, gigging and you are writing music, you are on the same level as, all of his friends are Jackson Brown and R.I.P. Bob Seger. We just lost a great one recently before the recording of this show, but that's kind of a sign of the times, right? All of these legends are slowly passing, and I think you're having the passing of that spirit along with them. If you're kind of an esoteric person like me, that I think it was time for these people to pass on, for people to realize that like, nothing lasts forever. These bands don't last forever. You need new favorite bands. You need to embrace the youth of the culture at all times, because that is what drives our culture. That is what drives our society. We need to educate our youth. And for us, we live in a musician artist world. And those are the people that I'm choosing to put my energy into. It's really about helping these kids that are, in their early 20s, just starting out, maybe helping them avoid some of the personal pitfalls that I've been through. And I'm sure, just turning 30. Congrats, you young man.
Thank you.
I turned 38 this year, right? So kind of using all of the knowledge that I have and kind of embracing that, hey, you're kind of one of the OGs now, right? And being an authority. People come to us for advice all the time, and it's something that my friend Jenica Hauser with Dirty Dog Productions, who is becoming a closer and closer partner of ours, we're all just out here trying to drive content for other artists. It's podcasts, it's blogs, it's more video stuff. We have connections to all the people that can shoot videos. What our big idea is now, Alec, and we'd love to work on getting one up into your area and working with you on this as a little co-production, but we want to do like musician mixers where I show up with the microphones, our friend shows up with the video cameras, we got still cameras with a photo booth or a nice backdrop. We're running headshots all night, we're doing podcasts, and all of our artists are working out with a ton of content. We have a little jam at the end, we hit record on that, we have a podcast to throw out there, and then all of this little acoustic versions essentially of all of these songs, and it's just more content, right? Pretty much just hitting record everywhere we go, and then having more situations where we all hang out so we can provide a service to as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time.
That's what's up, dude. I love it.
Right.
That's what I love about you and the scene too, man. Is like you and I kind of have that same thought of like uplift these artists that are maybe too small or don't know how to kind of like get themselves to that next level. And it's cool to see it happening around the world, man. It's awesome. I appreciate everything that you have going on, dude. You have some real big ideas, and you're also a real hungry dude. So thanks for putting your best foot forward and making the shit happen, man.
Yeah, thanks. Well, and yeah, we should probably find a point to jump off. But before I let you go, why don't you tell us kind of what is next? What's the next big thing moving into the fall here? I know we got some songwriter stuff coming up in South Dakota that I know Clayton will be a part of. And I know we're going to talk off camera about some of that stuff too. But why don't you give us a little bit about what's next for the next month or two?
Well, let's see here. For the next month, what are we going into? September now. September's a little chill. I have a few, I'm doing solo stuff under the name Zander. So I have a couple shows coming up, mostly brewery stuff. I'm doing a little duo tour around Minnesota with a friend of mine named Colby Kent. So that's where I'll be at. Clayton is doing a boatload of things with this group called Deuces Wild. It's like a dueling piano thing where he opens up with a 45-minute set, and then he hops up and plays a couple of his songs with them towards the end of the show. So he's making good money with that.
I was going to say that one pays the bills for the month.
Oh, man, for sure. I mean, he also just quit his job, too. I quit my job back in February to go full-time, and he quit his job right before we did this Western tour. So we're both full-time now. So, that's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes we're looking at the calendar, and we're like, okay, what shows are paying the bills and what shows are, building the career?
Yeah.
You have to be able to differentiate that. You have to be able to take those three if you're a full timer like we are.
Yep.
You have to be able to take those 3-hour gigs and be like, okay, this might not turn into another gig. This is probably just simply a show where I'm getting paid, and that's fine. You need to be able to do that. But while I'm doing that, that's also building my song list of like covers that I know, and I throw in a couple originals here and there. So yeah, September is mostly just like those shows where we're paying the bills, but October is gonna be fun. We've got a friend of mine named Sarah who has a company called Dancing Fish Events. She and I are partnering up for 2 different shows in October. One is for there was actually a gentleman in the music scene who was shot and killed about 2 years ago now, and they never caught the killer, and it was a whole mess of a situation. His name was David Velk, one hell of a hip-hop guy, also one of the biggest hearts in the Twin Cities. So on October 27th, we're going to be at the Green Room in Uptown, Minneapolis, doing a little memorial show for him. We're calling it Sunday Scaries, and that's just kind of like a fun little show with some local acts, and then like a portion of the cover charge is going towards the Dave Velk Foundation. And then on Halloween night itself, we're going to be at the Ice House in Minneapolis doing a kind of like a cover show, actually. So Clayton Ryan and this bluegrass band in town called Bark Point, they're getting together and they're going to do the music of the Steel Drivers. Our friend Bryn Batani is going to do all the music of David Bowie. And then our friend Michael Beatrice, a.k.a. the Weeping Covenant, he's going to get up and do all the music of the Eagles. So it's just kind of like a cover show, dress up as your favorite artist and play their music. And it's going to double up. I'm currently looking for sponsors, actually, but we're going to do some Halloween costume contests, giveaways and stuff. So that'll be fun. Looking ahead, Clayton and I are literally planning right now. We're doing a Southern tour because, you know, the Midwest gets really cold. So we're going to go down to New Orleans and Texas and New Mexico and probably Nashville and beyond too, maybe some Alabama. We're debating whether or not to go into Florida, but we're going to be gone for about the month of January, just touring down there along with our friend Ryan Little Eagle. So we're pretty stoked about that.
Well, you sold me. I got a bourbon, boys. Jump in. I got the trailer if we need extra room.
Yes,
that's
sir.
a whole band there, buddy. I don't know who I don't know who's going to play drums, but
I know, right?
We got something going on. Well, and I just did something similar, and not to cut you off, I think it's almost information overload. Love me some RLE. Every time we get close to each other, make sure we at least get together for a hug. Yeah, another hardworking man out here. We're just building it. We're trying to build a little, actually, it's a quick little September run. We had some gigs fall through, so made ourselves available to hopefully get through the state of Wyoming and September 15th through the 18th. So really just started putting it out there. And honestly, you would be embarrassed about my timing because I'm literally waiting till like, oh, I'm 2 weeks out. Hey, I'm looking for a gig, and just literally throwing it out there on Facebook, and things have been landing, and just kind of, and I wanted to allude something to where, unless you're in this thing full time, unless you're all in, you're never going to be hungry enough to do it. Mm-hmm. Unless you are literally feeding yourself with this thing, you're never going to make it, right? You got to be all in, and you got to be all into it like a business, and don't let people talk you out of it. I mean, if you treat it like a business, people will treat you like it's a business, is the way that I look at it. I don't drink on stage, right? Oh, can I buy you a Jaeger bomb? No. You can put some money in the tip jar, though. You know what I mean? Appreciate that. You can buy a t-shirt. I appreciate that, right? And it's no disrespect. It's just like, come on, man. I'm not coming to your job and being like, oh, hey, great job. Let me, get you drunk.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta, that's true, man. I appreciate the free meal every once in a while. I appreciate the free beer every once in a while. But at the same time, it's like, dude, that's not helping me pay my mortgage right now.
And most of the time, the venue's giving that to me. It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't care. Put money directly in my pocket. Put money in my pocket, right? This bar, if I'm doing my job, and I seem to be, I mean, we played at this cool venue called the Hillside out here on Lake Madison. Shout out to the Hillside. Great dudes. I'm going to get you guys in a lot of these places too. They're always looking for new stuff, and you guys do awesome. But it's right on the lake, so we didn't really have anybody sitting at the restaurant. It was a nice day, so I just started playing to the boats. I'm out there waving, and
Nice.
Everybody's kind of coming around, pulling around. Well, once the sun went down, those people came in and hung out and filled up the tables. They did buy the t-shirts. They did put some money in the tip jar, right? And I think it kind of alludes back to what why you keep getting called back and why we keep getting called back is that we connect with people. People have a good time, man. I say I play dancing songs and sing-alongs in my cover shows. I'm not going to come up here and play a bunch of stuff what I want to play is my original music, right? But if you want to hear, Sweet Caroline and Boot Scootin' Boogie and, any plethora of these cover songs that, it seems like most guys these days, kind of scoff at it, right? And, you got to do it. And I'm like, man, this is paying my bills right now. I am connecting with people, and that's bringing them into my world enough for me to then introduce my music to them. And then my music doesn't suck. Right. And I think you have to come from that area. And that kind of speaks to the difference of, even in Minnesota, you have different scenes. You have your rural kind of out there farm town scene. And then you have the city where you need to stand out. And that's where you kind of having a foot in both worlds is so cool and is so valuable to us as a network and a growing, community, right? That you can help every artist. Hey, you just want to play original music and do this? I got some shows I can put you on. Hey, you just want to do this? Here's some venues that are always looking for people and guiding people in the right direction. And a lot of people, there's not a laziness in the industry that there used to be, right? Like, people were very jaded to booking their own shows and doing that. I've been doing it forever. Nobody was ever showing up to be like, oh man, love your band and we're going to do it for you. And that's never happened to me. I don't know if it even still happens now. I know some people have booking agencies that they work with, right? But they're still filling in their own schedule. And you talk about being independent. I say fiercely independent. You have to come to me with a deal so good that I would walk away from everything that I've built for the last 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Since I was 13, I've been playing in bands and doing this. Like, I'm not giving that up lightly, especially when I print all my own T-shirts. We literally do everything ourselves. We are a record label. We are our own promotional team. We are our own everything. We started our own podcast. Nobody was doing that for us either, right? Like, and nobody was doing it for our friends. And that's kind of where the impetus came from for the podcast. It was just like, how are all my friends not on podcasts every single week? And it was like, oh, well, you haven't started the podcast yet, right? So now we have, and now we're driving this thing again. And the Songwriter Showcase has a home here in Sioux Falls. We're looking for other homes of that. So any venues and friends of artists out there that know a good venue, hey, we're looking for places to land this great piece of content, right? And it's great conversations, it's great music, it's all original, it's all live on the spot, happening right in front of you, and we just hit record. And I encourage you guys and everyone listening to be doing the same. Start hitting record. I know we all get the video and everything every single week. Man, record the audio and send it to us. We'll find some way to package it up and put it out there, right? We're just about sharing content.
Absolutely. That's perfect. That's something I want to share with those who are maybe in the middle of the struggle right now as they're trying to kind of get their name out there and they're playing these cover shows. Feel free to steal this. What I say when I get up on the stage, I might be like 4 or 5 songs in and I'll say this. I'll say, hey, I accept requests too. If I know it, I'll do it for you. If I don't, I'll royally fuck it up for you. And that usually breaks the ice. People are like, oh, after I say that, people come up and they're like, oh, do you know any Shania Twain? Do you know any, they throw out their requests and stuff. And something else that I do after that is if I really actually don't know the song or like there's no way I can even fake my way through it, I tell them, give me a follow on Instagram or Facebook and send me a DM with all of these songs that you're requesting that I don't know. Because what it's going to do is it's going to help me build my repertoire of songs that I can call upon. It's going to keep us connected. And it's also going to, I always say this too, send me the DM with the songs that you want to hear. So next time you see me, you can hold me accountable and be like, remember I asked for that song and I sent it to you? It kind of helps break the ice with the audience. It helps me build my repertoire of songs because that happens a lot, dude. I'll show up to a gig and I'm like, okay, I used to get so like worked up because I would show up to a gig and as I'm driving to the gig, I'm like, man, I can't wait to bust out, some of my originals. The way I'm going to talk about my song is going to be, this way. And then I show up and I'm like, oh shit, this is definitely like a Johnny Cash.
Yep. Throw that plan out the window, huh?
Yeah, dude. So I've learned like never have expectations for a gig because you never know what it's going to be, and just show up. And also having this, I literally on my iPad I have 130 songs just queued up, and I never set a set list anymore because I'm just like, I show up, I see what the crowd is, and then I go from there. If it's like an older audience, but I can tell that there's a few youngins in the crowd, you know, I'll do my Dwight Yoakam, I'll do my Johnny Cash, I'll do my Hank Williams. And then I'll all of a sudden throw in an NSYNC song real quick. And as the old people are kind of like, oh, well, this song kind of sounds familiar. All of a sudden I'm seeing the youngins like do the bye, bye, bye dance and stuff. And then I have their attention. And then in the second set, I'll throw in some Blink-182 and Green Day and just mix it up and, you know, just kind of play to the crowd. And it helps, dude.
Man, your show sounds fun.
Oh, dude, I try to have, I always have a good time, but I try to provide that good time for everybody else.
Yeah, man.
Too.
So I played the Saloon Number 10 in Deadwood, legendary bar.
Nice.
I grew up in Deadwood, so for me, a pretty high honor to be invited to play there in the first place. To do a 6-night residency on top of that was a real treat, right? That's what they do during their summer. It's Tuesday to Sunday and 6 nights in a row. And
that's what's up.
I found who I was, right? 6 nights in a row will show you. I found our personality. I found what I do well. And that was to just be myself. Like, I'm a very personable person, right? I want to come up and introduce myself to you and make a habit of making rounds through the bar. Like when I'm on set break, I mean, it might be a quick pop-up back, especially when it's the middle of July and you're in a tiny little shooting box like the Saloon Number 10 is, and it's 105 degrees in there, right? But as soon as I cool down, always made it a point. We probably put out 4,000 stickers this year, just passing them out. And those are, a lot of those are hands that I shook, right? I mean, a percentage of that is like, thank you so much for coming. And I really appreciate you guys being here and going directly to the table. Like the residual from that, while it might not show up on the Facebook and everything, it's going to show up when our band is playing bigger and bigger shows, right? Yes. So you kind of get to that, that breaking point. And I think you guys are swiftly headed there. And I think we're all headed there together. I mean, this week, I don't know when this episode will post, but August 30th, we are doing our ribbon cutting ceremony because we joined the Greater Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, right? So stepping into the business world, right? Hey, we are here. We're a media company now, right? Not just a band. We're not just a podcast. We aim to change the way things are done around here, right? And using our connections, and not like we're forcing anyone out. We're just saying we have a place at the table. We are something. Mm-hmm. I think we've proven that, getting to 50 episodes in 6 weeks. And a lot of those are like, I could have batched all the MCMO award interviews. And I did 25 interviews in one night. Jeez. You know what I mean? I could have batched that stuff up and did those. No. And cut them all up into different episodes. No, I batched them all together because that's the content that made sense. Right? Like, sure. We're trying to showcase what it is we're actually doing. It's not fluff. It's not, it's real conversations. We're trying to get to the heart of some of the things that are making some of us successful, right? It's going to lead to more and more, and we're just getting started, Alec. I mean, we're babies. We're barely thought. Both of us. I mean, Coffee Break Entertainment is no different. We have no idea what we're doing, but we just know for a fact that we need to be out here doing it. And I think when you operate in that and you just get out there and you just keep plugging away at it, good things happen for you. And I think that our lives are playing that out, right? I have experienced some of the biggest, the highest highs this summer in my career and all those things because I was available. Right. I was available to the opportunity. And that's why I say you got to be all in this. There's no way that you're trying to plan your life in music around a different life. I say it all the time on the show. We don't do music for a living. We are living musicians. It's a different life. It's a different world.
So true, man. Yeah. I did the same thing, dude. Where like I was working at Lynn Lake Brewery as the taproom manager, and like, you know, that position is one of the hardest positions in any brewery because you know all the ins and outs, you know what's working and what isn't and all that jazz. But I had been there for about 5 years, dude, and I was so ready to dive into music full time. But my wife and I bought a house last July of 23, And I was like, my goal was to work at the brewery until we got the house, you know, because as far as banking and stuff goes, you have to have like
smart move, Alec.
Yeah, dude. So
get that credit. All right, peace out.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Well, then we bought the house, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm broke. Okay, I need to keep working here for a little longer. But, dude, I hunkered down. I saved every excess penny that I had, and what happened was when I quit the job back in February, I was like, okay, even if I don't make another dollar, I can at least survive for the next 6 months on what I've saved. And that helped immensely because it took the stress of the finances to the side. Like I'm not rolling in the dough in any way, shape, or form, but I'm comfortably paying my bills, and I'm still able to take my wife out on dinner dates, and I'm still able to go grab a beer with my friends when I want to. You know, right. I can't go buy a Mercedes right now, but I'm at the point right now where it's like I am able to say yes to all of these opportunities that come across my table. Right,
and eventually those opportunities get bigger and bigger and pay more and do more for your career, and that's, you have to be in it, or you're never going to, you're just never going to achieve what you want to. If this is what you really want. For a lot of people, it's not all in, but I know that we're all in. Everybody that I talk to, we're all kind of in this. A few of us are working a little bit and kind of doing the weekend warrior thing, but they're close to making decisions, right? Like, it's really fun to see it all now, and to be able to help guide people, right? To give them all the tips and all the advantages that we can, man. And that's why I love what you're doing. I just love you as a person. I think you're a great guy. I'm glad I got to get up this summer and to meet you. I'm really looking forward to September 6th at Wood Grain Brewing here in Sioux Falls. We get to play a show together. So,
I'm so stoked for that, man. It's going to be so much fun. Thanks for hopping on that with me, too. Do a little opening set. Oh,
yeah, man. And I'm actually heading. It's funny that we're both kind of meeting and playing the show. And then I'm actually going to Council Bluffs the next day to play out of town. And you're kind of on the road heading, you know, not back home, but out of town yourself. And it's just funny where our lives are going and how. I just watched this really cool video yesterday, and it was how it just had like one stationary top, almost looked like, what those battle bots that my kids play with, the little things. But it has one sitting in the middle, and it throws one in that's spinning, and it hits that one, right? And then you put another one in that's spinning, and slowly, you know, all of the other spinning tops hitting the one, get it to spin, right? The rotational energy keeps bouncing off of it. And it's like, holy buckets. When you start to apply that to humans, right? And that physics, and we talk about vibrations and all of these things, right? It's all real. Right? It's all physics at the end of the day. And when you get close to these people, and what happened every time that these spinning things got close to each other, they would touch, feed each other their energy, and then bounce off in completely different opposite directions, right? So we're not made, right? Some of us aren't made to be close together all the time, but we're definitely made to still be connected and to come together and feed each other once in a while, and then go our separate ways. And what a beautiful career that we are building for ourselves, both separately and conjuntos, together.
Absolutely, bud.
I love it, man. I just smile uncontrollably all the time. Every time I'm listening. I mean, Clayton's songs bring me to tears. It's not just him. It's everybody that I listen to. And it's the content of the song, but I'm so damn proud of us all. I'm so damn proud of everything we've all gone through to get to where we are. Every single one of us to get here. And that just extends to every single listener out there too, right? Like, I'm not just talking to you, and I realize the power of our words. And Alec, why people gravitate towards you is that your voice has power. While you may not feel like the greatest singer or the greatest this or that, you have power in your voice, and you use it for good. And I hope that all these good things just keep coming for you guys. I know that they will, but I look forward to watching and getting to be a small part of it in some way.
Absolutely, man. We got to grow together, and that's the only way I can picture doing it. You know, being independent is one thing, but being independent together, and because we're all in this together, bro. Like, the world is a little oversaturated with musicians because we all have access to the social media world with this little computer in our pocket. But at the same time, man, like the real ones are going to show, and that's so special. And if we can be there for each other and just keep lifting each other up, let's do it, man.
Exactly.
We're building one heck of a life, man. This is
right.
a beautiful thing.
And exactly why we started the Scene Projects. Everybody's welcome to join our Facebook group, just so you can get some of this information as we're doling it out, right? And be a part of this thing, follow the show, become part of the scene. I say it every show for a reason, right? Like, it doesn't make sense without you. And that's not just me talking to Alek. That's me talking to everyone. That's me talking to you listening to this show. Come and be a part of this. You bring your energy to us, and you have a purpose here, and trying to convey that to as many people, because that's what builds community. And it's growing. It's really fun. It's really fun having these conversations, and I appreciate your time, man. I don't know how much an hour of Zander's time costs these days, but I probably can't afford it.
You're good, man. Hey, I appreciate you, and it's been really fun, and I'm real proud of you too. It's been real fun watching the scene grow, and meeting you this summer in the Twin Cities, and actually getting to hear your show live and your music live was pretty great, dude. And you got a great little family too, and I'm just real proud of everything you're growing out there, Bubba, and I can't wait to see what the next chapter for all of us is together here.
Well, I thank you for that, and we're gonna get together real soon, man. It's just a week away.
I know, dude. It's coming up fast.
Yeah. All right, and for everyone else, this has been The Scene. Thank you for listening. Remember to follow us on all your social media channels, and follow our continuing coverage at patreon.com/The Scene Projects. Sign up for our email list and make yourself part of The Scene.